I mean, flipping houses is proven, I mean, over time to be a great wealth building activity.
Mm-hmm.
The thing that I would do differently and tell everybody, especially if you don't have any experience, partner with someone who does.
What's up, everybody? It's your boy. We're back again with another episode of The Journey, and I have a special guest for you today, a kindred spirit. At one point, I would call maybe one of my mentees. Now, I would say a colleague, a person that is also very much interested in entrepreneurship, is a practitioner of entrepreneurship, and holds down a day job as well. This is like my brother, like my family. Without any further ado, welcome to the show. Welcome to the journey, bro. Adam Myers.
Appreciate you having me, man.
Absolutely.
Excited to be here.
Bring it as close as you can there. So we can get you right there. Perfect. That's probably a little bit better. Is that good? Test it out for him.
No, yeah, appreciate you having me, man. Excited to be here.
Welcome, bro. Thanks for coming in town, checking up on me. I know you got some business to handle, but yeah, bro, I'm proud of you. You've done some really cool stuff. You've made some major moves, and I just want to get into them today.
Yeah, man, definitely. I said excited to be here. Definitely had to come check up on my people while I'm in town for a couple of days. So yeah, appreciate you having me.
Yeah, for sure. Folks they tune into us because they want to know about entrepreneurship. They want to know not only about entrepreneurship, but what is it like holding down a job and being an entrepreneur, which is craziness. And, all the different verticals of real estate to retail to marketing, sales, all these different functions and things. And, you've touched on a bunch of those now. I guess to kick it off, though, what do you think got you interested in doing more than the minimum, as I call it?
Man, really, I would say out of necessity. Growing up, I realized real fast that the American dream, so-called, that they were selling us, it was resulting in people's nightmares.
Right.
Essentially, I watched my mother go and devote 20 plus years to the Indianapolis public school system to be let go all of a sudden a year and a half before retirement age, being unfit to do a job that she did practically her entire adult life.
Wow.
And so seeing, multiple stories of things like that happening, right? Just being cognizant about my surroundings.
Yeah.
Right. You go to any local fast food restaurant, you walk into your neighborhood Walmart. Who are the people that you see there taking your order or greeting you at the front door?
Right. The granny.
Right.
The church mother, the bus driver.
So I'm like, what is happening to this dream that they sold us?
Yeah.
Right. Of go get a job, work the best 20, 30, 40 years of your life, and then retire off into the sunset.
Right.
That equation, that math wasn't mathing.
Right.
So.
The math ain't mathing. Yeah, that's big facts, man, because you see that so much. And I'm glad you shared that story because, my grandfather went through that same thing, right about to retire, had been with steel company for years, and then all of a sudden, pushed out the door.
Right.
And in some respect, not able to get his full just due. And yeah, that's the risk we run. And I guess you couldn't have known it. You couldn't have known somebody would do you that dirty until you actually seen it really hit home. And then you start to realize, okay, this is a dream. But you also work a regular job. So what has you kind of still, you're not the entrepreneur that says, you know what, forget corporate America completely, forget working completely. So why are you still choosing to kind of dip your toe in, I'd say?
That's a good question.
Why am I doing this?
No, seriously. There's there was no silver spoon, right? I wasn't no trust fund baby or nothing like that, where I had $1 million waiting for me when I turned 18 or whatever you have it to go off and start a business. And so, a lot of this was started off of the back of my corporate job, right? My advice to everybody is, leverage corporate America for what it is, but understand that if it comes down to you or your boss and they got to make a decision, shit, he's going to choose to feed his family before he chooses to feed yours.
Exactly. So, right.
I just realized that I don't care how hard times get, I would never fire myself.
Right.
So
I love that.
Yeah, it was.
So we always say on here, like, let your job be your first investor. So I like how you said that, leverage that job, leverage corporate America for what it is, and just know what it is coming out the gate. That way you ain't surprised knowing that, this thing could dry up at any time. Don't fall in love. And I've been seeing people say this online recently, like, don't call, they've been talking to CEOs, don't call your workers your family, because in actuality, if you got to let them go,
right,
either you gonna be stuck holding on to them because you done said they was family and you need to actually let them go, or if something goes down and you need to make cuts or whatever, I guess the same thing is true. They're not family. They're your team, and they're there to do certain work, and that's it. I mean, but let's not. We've kind of got maybe too cozy with the idea that we're just going to, be able to do whatever.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, you definitely want to do your best to do right by, the people who you employ. I mean, even the people that you work with.
Yeah.
You want to do your very best to be a good steward of your time, resources, relationships, etc. But at the end of the day, as an entrepreneur, you also have to, if you have to be able to pour from a full cup,
right?
When that cup starts drying up, you have to be nimble enough and just understand when it's time to make a pivot.
Right.
So, but one other thing, just in terms of like why corporate America, it's also because that's what I was taught, right? So I spent, you go kindergarten up through college to, I was blessed to go and pursue a master's degree post undergrad. You're talking about the first 20 plus years of my life were all devoted to this idea of going to get a job, right? Going to work for someone else.
Right.
And so it's hard to just completely devoid that 20 plus years of learning, completely upturn that and say,
right,
well, I'm going to just completely go against the grain.
Right.
Right. So no, leverage that learning. That's what the educational school system taught you. If you're from a family like mine, that is what we know.
Right.
Blue collar work.
Yeah. Work a job.
Yep. Like you said, go and leverage that, but just understand that at the end of the day, things can change rapidly for you. So
big facts. And you know what's crazy? I thought about, we always hear like, what do you want to be when you grow up? And it's really like, that's really code for what job do you want?
Right.
What job do you want to get? And, maybe we should change that. Instead of what do you want to be when you grow up? What problem do you want to solve?
Right. What do you want to do?
What do you want to do? What problems do you want to solve for people? And because that could help shape or change that thinking of just, I'm going to be a worker. I'm going to get a job. Somebody else is going to pay the bills. Somebody else is going to write the check.
Well, one question that I like to ask, and I've challenged myself even with this thinking and all of my younger siblings and things like that, is what lifestyle do you want to have, right? Because that's ultimately going to start guiding you in a direction to let you know what it is that you need to do,
right,
to be able to afford the type of lifestyle that it is that you're looking to live.
Yeah, you can't divorce the activities you do from every day from the lifestyle you want to have.
Right.
So if you say you want a vacation and you say you want to have control over your time, but you are spending all your life like going after a job or a career that doesn't give you any flexibility.
Right.
you only get 2 days time off a year. Like that's discongruent with, all right, this is the life I want to live. So yeah, what lifestyle? I think that's good. That's a good question. A good question. So what else? What else? So you realize you've devoted your life to working. So that's partly why you got the job. But at some point you realize, okay, they sell us a bill of goods that aren't necessarily true. So I'm not going to just put all my eggs in this basket. I'm going to try to leverage it to my biggest advantage. So what would you say was your first exploration into entrepreneurship? And,
What those first explorations started real early. I mean, we could take it all the way back to selling candy back in middle school.
Yeah.
But even starting there, going up through college and undergrad, helping a big part of that Sally Mae student loan only goes so far.
Right,
so,
right.
Right. So we were creating a way out of no way. That was another strong introduction into some bigger entrepreneurial endeavors. With you and my older brothers, and hosting those entertainment events.
Events, I love it. Parties, y'all. If y'all don't understand the language, big bashes.
Right, going to Purdue. There, wasn't a ton of us on campus that looked like us, and for those that were there weren't a plethora of opportunities. So we saw that opportunity and said, hey, let's create a space, an environment that is conducive to the things that we like to do, the type of music and people and activities that we enjoy. And that allowed us to multiply that Sally Mae check to get us through.
Right, so. Get us through, Sally. Thanks for the investment. Look, we about to go flip this. Yeah, we gonna learn. We are learning. This is for education. Right, this entrepreneurial education. Yeah, that was crazy, man. We had some times with that. Gosh, I remember it being like, I remember getting ready to leave Purdue. I'm like, man, who is going to do these parties? We need somebody. And it was finally you was the one that was like, all right, I got this. We figured it out. And like, them parties was like you said, entertainment events, but it do teach you a lot about entrepreneurship because at the end of the day, I'm solving a problem and I'm seeing a void and I'm filling the void. And it's like, that's what you have to do as an entrepreneur. And everything in between, all right, let's just figure it out. How we gonna do this? How we gonna do? Is it even gonna work? You gotta. There's a little bit of just figure it out in there.
I mean, yeah, you gotta think it. 18, 19 years old. We're raising capital, going and talking to these other business owners to go and secure their venues, going and gathering.
That's crazy.
Different licenses, whether it's a liquor license, food, whatever the venue called for. Yeah, we're going out piecemealing it together. That was a great time, but it was a lot of those skills that I leveraged like very early on. In undergrad that I just kind of carried with me as I continued upon my entrepreneurial journey.
Yeah, I remember some people kind of getting on me about throwing parties because it wasn't necessarily the best look or the best move for me being a business student. But when I look back, it's like it was a great move. It taught me so much. So even though I may have taken some reputational damage from the higher ups because people may have been drinking or partying and, promoting those type of things. But like you said, the activities that I learned through that, I can apply to so much more. And it starts to sort of unwind those 20 years of I'm just going to be a worker. Like, no, I can advocate for myself. I can, negotiate contracts. I can do all these things that, as we know now, are key and critical to getting deals done.
Right. No, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
You're talking about an 18, 19-year-old going up, knocking on a business, on a business's door, telling them, hey, I'm looking to, you're talking about learning how to tell a story, right? Because we couldn't go to a lot of these establishments and tell them, hey, I'm trying to go have 200-300 folks come in here rowdy and having a good time.
Having a great you got to spin it.
Right.
Yeah. Entertainment. So, do you think we should have kept doing that?
Oh, we were so far ahead of our time. Had we kept doing that, we we would be having this conversation in the Bahamas somewhere.
Because people still need it. People still need that. Like, there's still that void. And I always think about this too. Like, we're all getting older, but you're still living with the same basic group of people you've been living with from kindergarten and up.
Yeah.
All right. It kind of gets bigger because you maybe add all the classes together. Like, so high school is all together in adulthood. Right. But at the same time, it's like everyone still needs the things. They still need that. I just want to, especially in school, you stressed out, it's tests. It's like, I need a relief. Obviously you can go too far and not graduate, but anyway.
That's another story.
Another story. Boiler up for our days, doing that. And yeah, Bahamas, we're still coming for you, just a little later than expected.
Yeah, we just took the slower path.
Yeah.
The trial and error approach.
So talk about school. How did you still complete school with the parties, and why do you think you stopped doing the parties? When did we lose it or lose the,
for me, I think that I was too short-sighted with what it was we were doing. Right, I kind of saw it more as a hustle and not a sustainable business. Obviously, hindsight is 2020.
Right.
But before our exit, right, we did start to venture off into other universities. The party that we co-hosted down at Ball State.
Oh, I forgot about that. I don't even remember that. That's crazy.
Yeah. But there was a point in time, as you talked about, not graduating.
Yeah,
there was a point in time where I was like, okay, I really need to buckle down. And I think for me, that's where I just got real serious. This is what my fourth of 5 of my 5-year program.
Yeah, like, okay, it's gonna have to be partying or it's gonna have to be this degree.
Right.
Which one am I gonna walk out of here with?
Partying was getting ready to have to be the answer had I not tightened up a little bit.
Yeah. I remember having to tighten up too, because man, them parties was a time. Yeah, what a time to be alive.
Definitely a good time.
Okay, so that makes sense. So you finish school, you focus on that, and then you kind of what was your first move? Getting that job, that 20 years, you end up going back to the grain, right?
Yep.
This is what I was taught to do. Let me go get this gig.
Yeah. So yeah, graduated in 2013, took my first job. I mean, I still remember $43,000 graduating.
Wow.
Graduating as an industrial engineer. I mean, I thought that was the most money in the world. But yeah, very, very soon, you working long hours, 50, 60 hours a week, and that real life starts to hit.
Yeah.
Those bills start coming. Those student loans and investments that we had start kicking in, rent and stuff, and you like, I mean, this is the most money that I've ever had in my life, but it's going real, real quick.
Right. So. Those are the most bills I've ever had in my life.
Right. So,
crazy. Cost to live out here? When does it start?
Right. Yeah, that little $350 apartment that we had in college.
It's not realistic.
Right.
7 people in a 4-bedroom. Oh, boy.
So yeah, just real early on, I was like, okay, this is not sustainable. I have to have multiple sources of income if I'm even going to survive as a single man.
Yeah.
So yeah, I start looking at, what can I do in addition to, my full-time job that I can start adding some incremental value.
Yeah.
And, that entrepreneurial itch, I had to start scratching at it again. So.
Yeah. And so what'd you start? What'd you do?
So that's where I initially started my real estate investment company.
Okay. So you went straight to real estate. Why real estate? You did a lot of research trying to think about what to do, or?
So growing up, my father, he was also an entrepreneur.
Mm-hmm.
So he had me in real estate, going in, flipping houses at a very, very young age.
Mm-hmm.
I can recall as early as 9, 10 years old, I'm in there
with a bag of nails.
Right. Trying to paint anyway.
Right. Tool belt.
Right. So told myself that I would never do that when I graduated, but it was familiar to me.
Mm-hmm.
I already had a basic understanding. Monopoly, that was one of my favorite games growing up.
Right.
So
mine too.
Right. So I'm like, well, shoot, let's learn how to play Monopoly in real life.
Right.
So,
right. I love that quote you said earlier. Like most people, what was it? What was the quote from the Monopoly thing you screenshotted?
Oh, it said, imagine playing Monopoly without ever buying any assets. You just go around the board collecting $200 and paying everybody every time you go anywhere or do anything.
Yep.
Yeah, they said that's what 99% of people do in real life.
Right. Man. Monopoly is dope. Just to think that game been around so long and it literally can, in that form, teach you what we're trying to teach people now. Like, you need to put your money into assets.
Yeah.
You can't just keep going around the board. You eventually be out of the game.
Right.
And it's the same thing. Whether
exact same principles.
We think because we going around the board and getting that 200, oh, I'm in the game, but you're really not in the game. If you don't get some property, you're not in the game.
Right.
Period. Be it free parking. It's anyway.
I mean, real estate that's one vehicle.
Yeah.
But the importance is just on an asset class in general. Right?
Yeah.
Something that's going to continue to add incremental value, and ideally something that can at least turn passive, whether it starts out being active or not.
Right.
Real estate just happened to be, the vehicle that I chose, but there's a lot of them out there.
Right. So tell us what's the first big lesson you learned in real estate after getting into it?
Ooh, my first big lesson was actually contract law.
Oh wow!
Yeah. So when I first started out in real estate, I took probably more of an unconventional path than what most people think about. Right. A lot of people think about real estate and even the monopoly game, right? It's acquiring these properties, whether they're residential, commercial, as a buy and hold type of investment, or flipping, which has become real popular over the past several years.
Mm-hmm.
I actually started out helping individuals who had lost their property to foreclosure, to tax foreclosure specifically. I would go and identify those individuals, skip trace them, those individuals.
What's that mean, skip trace them?
Essentially just go out and find them.
Okay.
Usually digitally, right? Following a digital trail, whether that's you leveraging social media or some form to identify where these people are now residing as they've been kicked out of their homes. And what was happening was, during that foreclosure process, there's the tax sale overage sale, which is an auction. Just as an example, say that you owe $10,000 in worth of taxes. Your home goes to the tax sale, and you go and it sells for $110,000 that some investor goes and buys your house for. And say for, just again as an example, it was worth $200,000, but he bought it for $110,000. Well, that difference between the $10,000 owed and the $110,000 that he bought it for, there's a $100,000 overage there that technically is still owed to the previous homeowner, because all the county is owed is the back taxes. So I would identify those individuals and let them know, like, hey, in this example, you have $100,000 that's out there that belongs to you. And I would go tell them, for 10, 15, maybe 20% of that overage, I'll go collect that on your behalf and send that money back to you.
Oh, wow.
And so that was how I got started in real estate.
That's so niche, though. That's like so specific. I don't think I knew you was doing it like that. So how you get into real estate in such a specific way while you still got a job, right? At this time.
Yeah, okay, I'm still working full time.
So tell us how this is happening.
Well,
how did you even figure out to get so niche down? Specific
it was out of necessity, right? $43,000. I don't care what year it is; it don't go real far. Despite my initial thoughts. So I had to figure out a way to get started in real estate with little to no money.
Yeah,
and so I already owned a computer. I was already paying for Wi-Fi. like at that point, it's just
use what you got. Is what you feel. You got a computer, you got Wi-Fi, you got something.
You got a lot of opportunities. At that point, it was just hustle.
So it was Google. So you was just researching and Googling until you stumbled upon this is how you do it with zero.
Yep.
Wow. And how long did that take? Was it like you saw one article and it was boom, or you saw like 20 articles, you finally like, okay, I think I can do this?
Yeah, I mean, I did a little research. I've always, again, real estate in general has interested me for, a long time. So, Bigger Pockets was a resource that I was leveraging back then to just get a basic understanding. I had some lawyer friends of the family who I just kind of ran the idea by them. They didn't know a whole lot about it, but gave me the like it passes the sniff test.
The sniff test, yeah. So, I love that though, because like lawyers and doctors, you would think that everybody knows everything. Anybody that got money just knows stuff, and it's like, no, there's a lot of stuff people don't know.
Right,
and that's where you can, to your point, you start figuring out, okay, this don't sound illegal.
Yeah,
it's not illegal. Everybody don't know about it, but there's something in between here where some value can be created. I love this. This is good. Yeah. But it started with research. So do your research. If you out there trying to figure out, you got your job and you're trying to figure out what your next hustle should be, but think long-term, not short-sighted, do your research and figure out how you can start with zero and become a billionaire like Adam is. No,
good. Aspiring.
Aspiring, right. You don't want to take it out of the atmosphere, but we also don't want to spew Trump lies. So, all right. So you're doing this. That's super dope. And so you're basically like a lawyer for them in a sense. You're reading law.
Correct. Yep.
And this is going how well for you? And what are the challenges you start seeing in this?
So
there's so many ways to get it. Oh my God.
there were initially a lot of different hurdles. I mean, around this time, you're talking about 2013, early 2014. This is when a lot of those the robo dialers first started coming out. So a lot of spam was hitting people's phones. And mind you, this is, I don't even think caller ID was all that was all that old just yet. So
caller ID was still the thing,
right?
Like, we don't know you, Jack.
Right.
Basically, you're trying to build trust in an environment with a complete stranger.
And me telling somebody who is financially, probably mentally and emotionally distressed at this point in time,
that they got a blessing.
You have there's a blessing that I'm the only person that knows that this exists.
Right.
So
they don't want to believe it.
Right. I mean, it sounds too good to be true.
So how many people out of 100 don't believe they have a blessing out there, given that they just got kicked out of their house?
I mean, you probably 98 out of 100 of them.
Dang, don't believe it.
I mean, at any given time, you're talking about these counties holding on to tens of millions of dollars in these overages.
Wow.
People just don't know is out there.
And at some point it expires?
Yeah. After.
Oh my gosh.
It varies by
county.
City, by county.
Yeah, okay.
Right. So anywhere from like 1 to 3 years, if that money is not claimed, the city just takes it. Yeah. Or the county just takes it.
Go straight to Parks and Recreation and,
right.
and the mayor's pockets.
Right.
Now, this is huge because mindset is something we also try to talk about on the podcast and with the StephenMotivate brand in general. And it's like, to think that our mindset can be so distraught, so stressed out, so mad at the world. I just lost my house, that you won't even believe a good thing if it
fell in your lap.
In your lap. And I'm gonna walk you through how to do it.
Yep.
But you just have to trust and believe. See, people like discount trusting and believing, like, oh, that's just cliche and that's just BS. But no, trusting and believing can be the thing holding you back from the next level.
No, you're absolutely right.
I love that. Okay, tell us another cool story about the wholesaling. And before you move on to some of the other stuff you did, because I know we don't have all day, but we're going to try to get through at least a portion of your resume.
Actually, wholesaling came into the play a little later on.
Okay, not the wholesaling. So what is this called? This
was tax overages.
Tax overages.
Yeah.
So what's a cool story with the tax overages? Did any of them go right? Did you finally get somebody to?
Yeah, I mean, I think my biggest tax sale overage was probably like $25,000 that came to me.
Wow.
So I mean, yeah.
So how much did you get them?
I think they walked away with like $65,000-$70,000.
Wow.
Yeah.
That they wasn't expecting. Did they like fall in love with you and want to adopt you into the family?
I mean, I actually still have some photos of me taking the guy to the bank. So this guy, and I don't want to put his name and stuff out there,
don't put his name out.
But older gentleman in Indianapolis, he had suffered a stroke. And so he was recovering, was in and out of the hospital for quite a bit of time, fell behind on his taxes, ended up losing his home.
Wow.
I ended up finding him living with a family member. So just leveraging, again, social media, finding anybody who was connected with him, ended up like finding a cousin of his who was like, yeah, well, he's actually staying, with this family member. I can get you in contact with him. Got in contact with him, realized that, he had this, he had the stroke that he was dealing with. And so the communication was a little difficult because he was having some troubles talking. And so, ultimately was able to convince him to give me the, what do you
power of attorney?
Yeah, the power of attorney, a limited power of attorney, though, to go and act on his behalf, to go collect it. And again, as he's non-mobile, I had to go pick him up from his family's house. Wow. I presented this check to him. Wow. And I mean, it was just tears of joy.
Like, so he literally had tears in his eyes.
Yeah.
That is wonderful.
So yeah, took him up to the Chase Bank. And he went and deposited that money in his account, took him home, and yeah, you just talking about before I got out of the car, he just sat there and prayed with me for a minute, and I'm just talking about just tears of joy coming down his face.
And that's powerful, bro.
Yeah.
Wow. It's not all about making money. Entrepreneurs can be good change agents, good people doing great things in the world.
Absolutely.
That's dope.
Yeah, I mean, and some people looked at it like I charged him so much money to go and do it, but
right.
Like people don't understand all of the time, the cost associated with, and the legal fees associated that I was coming out of using my little $43,000,
right, to try to
go schedule court dates and stuff to go and get this stuff approved. But
that's
I mean, you're
crazy.
Absolutely right.
That is nuts, bro. I had no idea you did that. Mm-hmm. That's really cool. That's dope. So why did you ever stop doing that? What made you kind of get out of that and graduate from it?
I kind of got after I made that little bit of money. Again, the next shiny coin was to go start flipping homes. So
that was like the next step. Like, I could do this, but it's a bunch of out of 100 attempts, I'm only closing 2.
Right.
It's a lot of time. It's a lot of work. Once I got some cash, I can just go own this process myself, flip, and go ahead and sell a house after I've already fixed it up. So that became, okay, let me do this instead. Better use of your time, it sounds like. Got it.
Yeah. Now that I had that capital, just like you said, it was like, well, let me go put this into something that can create a bigger return for my investment, being my time. So
got it. Okay, that's dope. So what was the flipping like? You doing that? You winning out the gate with that, or?
Ooh, no, that was. Shoot, y'all might see some tears talking about this first one, boy.
Oh man,
my very first flip, that was a $100,000 loss.
Whoa. Wow. Briefly, how? I mean, if it can be brief, like how do you, what did you not know that you know now that, made things where it could have been better?
And not that I was a big HGTV guy, but me being naive, thinking like, I don't need nobody. I can figure this out by myself. I've been doing all of this other stuff on my own, right? Had various levels of success doing things and just not attacking it properly with the right resources, with the right people, with the right mentorship, entering into a brand new space and a new season, kind of on my own. So I did actually have a partner who I was partnered with in the deal, but he also had no experience. And he was really relying on me, which turned out to be the blind leading the blind. But
you know how to drive? No. Do you know how to drive? No. All right, we'll figure it out.
But
Somebody will fly this airplane.
But I always say, between my undergrad and master's degree, you're talking about a couple $100,000.
Yeah,
$100,000. This was just a fast track MBA in entrepreneurship.
So real life, you don't regret it then?
Absolutely, I would do it all over again.
You would do it all over again because you learned so much through it.
Correct, and it's created, exponential value since that very first learning lesson.
I love that because you can't be so mad at the lessons and what the lesson costs if, to your point, it's going to be really an education.
Right.
And we've paid, like you said, $100,000 plus for our education. So you're doing the same thing, just in a different world.
Yeah, and that's what I told my partner. I said, look, we spent 20 plus years going to school before we ever earned a single dollar. I said, we learned this lesson in 12 months.
Right. This is a win.
Right.
I love it. Because you have to mentally be there. Like your mindset has to really start to say, because, with the wrong mindset, you give up. You're done with real estate completely. This just sank me. I'm through. But with the right mindset, you take something that should sink anyone else and you shift the perspective on it and say, this is just another lesson. And this is not abnormal because like you said, I took 20 years to learn this stuff and I ain't making $1. So I just learned this. So it's like that mindset is so huge because it's like, that's what's setting you up for success. All right, tell us something that happened good in your life in real estate. So, okay, the first flip goes bad. What happens with the second flip?
So really the first flip is what kind of set me up in terms of my flipping journey.
Okay.
After I took that loss, I then had experience, right? So now I'm able to go to different lenders, to go out and raise money privately for the next deal. Ultimately what ended up happening is I ended up buying about 5 properties on that very same street.
Wow.
Right? Though I ended up taking $100,000 loss on that one property, I foresaw that the L was coming. So throughout the process, I'm networking, talking to people about what it is that I'm doing, showing them the property as I'm fixing it up. Despite how hard I'm paddling underwater, as the saying goes, like on top, I'm framing it to other people like, hey, this is exciting, this is fresh,
right?
Like here's all the opportunity that's going on in this area,
right?
Yeah, we ended up buying the property right next door, and we bought one right next door. We bought one in the middle of the block. We bought one on the block right over from it. There was one more that I can't remember. We did end up wholesaling that one actually. But I think on that very next one, we set the market with that first house that we took a loss on.
Yep.
As values continued to appreciate, you're talking about 6 months later, we made over like $150,000 on that very next flip. So,
wow. Because he was just willing to see, again, think long-term with it.
Right.
Instead of just short-sighted and kind of put up the facade that you almost have to show that, okay, there's more that can be done here. Even though I'm taking the L, only I really know it. I can really, there's more opportunity here. Okay, that's really cool. So I guess what should people know if somebody wants to start flipping houses, right? Do you suggest it? And what's the one thing you would tell them to like, so they don't have to go through exactly what you went through? Should they do it? And what's one thing you would tell them?
Definitely. Flipping houses is proven, over time to be a great wealth building activity. The thing that I would do differently and tell everybody, especially if you don't have any experience, partner with someone who does.
Yep.
Do not try to go at it alone, and find good mentors.
Yeah.
It's critical, right? If you can learn from other people's mistakes and not have to make them yourself.
So that ain't just a saying, that's real life. Like,
right.
Partner with somebody to do it, and find good mentors. Find somebody that can show you the ropes. Will you be that for people now? Have you done that for anybody now? Definitely.
We're kind of out of the buy and flip space now as we're building ground up, but we are bringing new investors into our business, letting them leverage our experience in partnership with us building homes ground up now.
Okay.
So that is something.
There's still that chance to work with you
Absolutely.
or work with your team to, hey, if you want to get into real estate, here's a way you can get into it, learn a little bit of the ins and outs, and here's a way you can benefit from my experience in it.
Absolutely.
Invest with me, put some money up.
Yep, absolutely.
Okay, I love that. So, but you graduated from it. I see this as a theme. You keep, going to different different levels in this real estate thing. So why do you leave the flipping space, and what do you graduate to?
The flipping space, again, it was just a good foundational education, right? Gave me, I grew up in it. I was a kid when my father was doing this stuff. So
right.
I wouldn't say by any means I was no master builder or anything like that, obviously, when I got into the space. But, after about 12 or so flips, I just started seeing trends happening within the space, right? Flipping is, even the best plan gets disrupted.
Even the best plan gets disrupted.
Absolutely.
Okay.
As you're going in, and you start tearing stuff out, you start removing walls, things of that nature. You may have termite damage, water damage, just things that you cannot account for until you get into that property and start pulling and start taking it down, taking it apart.
Yeah.
I realized that, going the new construction route, you eliminate one of those steps. There is no demo. So it's all just building it, putting it together.
Yeah.
And so I can create more systematic systems and processes around my cost and timeline.
That won't get disrupted.
Correct. I can measure that down to how many screws I need on a new build. But, unfortunately, without having some of those experiences, a lot of your lenders and stuff don't like to lend to new investors in the ground up space without having that prior experience. So I say it was just a great foundational education that afforded me the opportunity to take that next leap.
So is that the trade-off then of like, okay, I'm doing my flips or whatnot, because I've been thinking about this honestly. So if I could go get a property, it already has an address, it already has pipes or whatever, it's already on the city's grid or whatnot, then if I can do that, does that save me? Or is the trade-off then, okay, you're gonna get disrupted. You're not gonna be able to forecast it properly because something's gonna be there that's unexpected. But if I do something completely new, I've got to, and I can forecast it all out, I gotta make sure the city knows that I'm building this and it's new. I gotta make sure there's electrical going to this area. I gotta account for these other type of things, and that becomes a trade-off where at least if I got the flip, I can kind of get started and I'm gonna get disrupted. But
right. Yeah, ultimately it is that trade-off that you're talking about, right? Ground up construction is more planning on the front end than it is for a flip, because like you said, you already have an existing structure on a flip.
Mm-hmm.
So, before you even get started on a new development, you're engaging different people. You have architects, designers, especially depending on how big your structure is.
And why do you have to have architects and designers?
One, they have to make sure that the space that you're looking to build on is going to be able to support the structure that that it is that you're going to build.
So it don't sink in the ground.
Right.
That's a real thing.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. So geotechnical engineers and things like that, assessing, what was here before this. Is there anything, we've actually went and looked at sites where there were actually homes that were buried underneath the very soil that we were standing on.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
That is crazy.
So.
And that's because maybe some of these rules didn't exist back in the day.
Yep.
And so it's a home beneath the surface.
Yeah.
That's nuts.
Yeah. So, the processes are a little different, but ultimately it's, where do you want to spend your time? For me, being having that kind of industrial engineering background, being a big system and process guy, I want to spend as much time on the front end, understanding, doing all of my due diligence before I'm in the operation and things start going awry and disrupted.
Yeah. Okay, I like that. That's dope. So that's where you graduated to, because it's really the trade-off, but still, you still have more control in a sense.
Yep.
And now is the opportunity bigger as well in terms of payoff, in terms of payout? How does that look compared to fix and flip?
Definitely. I mean, in certain points in time, right, the market bears different activities.
Right.
As we've been in this high inflation, high interest rate environment over the past really 2 years now, I had to be a lot more selective with some of the ground up developments that we were doing, just because the juice wasn't worth the squeeze in terms of the cost of capital, what the market would bear given the new interest rate. So as buying power starts to come down, well, we start seeing home prices dropping as well.
Right.
So
come back to a price that people can transact at.
Right. So as you think about that new construction process, and again, there's nothing there and you're putting something there. So from your foundations, your plumbing and your underground plumbing and sewer, like that stuff gets really expensive.
Yeah.
So you have to make sure that, one, you do all of your due diligence on the market, understanding, what that climate looks like, and to be able to make that decision.
Yeah.
Depending on where you were at in the country, it may have made more sense financially to actually flip over the past 2 years, just given where the cost of money was at.
Got it. So, all right, you're doing this now. So tell me this, what's the dollar amount would you say that you flipped or not flipped, or that you've developed? What have you transacted in real estate deals since you've been doing this over the past 10, 11 years?
Total transactions? You're probably $5 to $6 million in total transactions, I would say.
Yeah, nice. So big numbers. 5 to 6 million is nothing to snuff at in terms of transacting and working with those type of dollars and figures and activities. So you've oversaw at least $5 to $6 million in activities.
Absolutely, yeah.
So what does it look like for you now? What is the business now? As you're doing new builds and as you're doing, different things, how are you getting the money for your projects? How are you like selling them, pitching them? Like, kind of what's like fast forward all the way through all of this, like where you at today with real estate? And then I want you to talk about what benefit have you received from doing all this type of stuff.
Yep. So where we're at today, and again, kind of going back to how I got started, right? As I just mentioned, over the past 2 years, we were in a very tight economic environment,
right?
High interest, high inflation. And so out of necessity, me and my business partners had to get really creative as we continued to develop ground up. And so what we started doing was we started vertically integrating in terms of our business. So not only were we the developers, but we were also actually the general contractor on our projects.
Oh, wow.
Not only were we just a general contractor, but we also started getting building materials manufactured. And so, over the course of that time, we came out with a couple different brands. Simply Vinyl was a vinyl flooring brand that just kind of happened out of necessity for us to be able to have more control over our costs. Simply Cabinets is another brand that kind of came out of this, where we started getting cabinets manufactured solely for our projects and sourcing those, which has led into some kind of adjacent business opportunities. But, again, just given the climate, having to be kind of strategic around what it was we were doing, how we were going to have more control over the project. And so that vertical integration for us has been key over these past 2 years.
And what's the biggest, I guess, benefit that you've from vertically integrating, from getting to this point where now you're, but before I ask you that, what's the difference between developing and GCing?
So the general contractor, he's, boots on the ground. He owns the actual labor component of building.
Got it.
Right. Whereas the developer, he's the one who's identifying the opportunity, raising a lot of the capital, raising the dollars, identifying, the land and where this thing is going to happen at.
Yeah.
Putting together that pro forma, and then going out getting that capital, whether that's coming out of his pocket, raising it from external sources
To get the job done.
Yep.
Got it. Awesome. Okay. And so then I guess my follow-up question to that is, so how has this benefited you now that you've started to have, you had to get creative? How has it benefited you in the short term, and then just in general? How has real estate benefited you being in it?
The biggest benefit has been in a lot of the strategic relationships and partnerships that we've since, kind of crafted and developed. Our most recent development on the south side of Chicago kind of gained some good traction with some city officials.
Yeah, y'all was on the news, right?
Yeah, we were. Yeah, we were on ABC and CBS.
That's dope, man.
So yeah, from those efforts, we've had a lot of city officials and local aldermen and stuff started to actually reach out to us now with opportunities to come and develop in specific locations within the city of Chicago. So instead of us having to go out and kind of chase opportunities, we're starting to now kind of be recognized as a player within some of the communities where we're participating at.
That's dope.
And being tapped for to go and develop. So it's probably been the biggest win thus far.
Wow, that's the relationships,
right?
The fact that you put your name in the hat, so to speak, just by doing something that you thought was going to be a benefit for you and your partners. But now it becomes, no, you're benefiting the city, you're redeveloping, you're beautifying, you're doing, and other people are recognizing that and saying, we like that this guy's bet on himself. Now we want to bet on him too. We want to do what we can to support that.
Yeah.
That's dope. That's dope. And then just real estate in general. I mean, how has real estate, has it helped your net worth? Does it help your overall, like, has real estate been a net positive for you?
Definitely. And so hitting back to something that you spoke on previously around why the corporate job, why the W-2, real estate has been a huge benefit to my W-2 job.
Why is that?
By owning real estate, in addition to us developing it, I also actively own rental units. And so,
how many rental units you got?
Personally, I have 4 doors. As a business, we have about 16, I believe.
Okay.
Yeah. So a lot of tax advantages to owning real estate. Having that W-2 and being an active, real estate professional affords us the ability to start writing off a lot of the taxes that we pay on an annual basis, being able to recapture that tax money and then go out and reinvest that to continue to grow that asset pile.
It's a wealth building strategy for you then. At the end of the day, not only are you recapturing the taxes, but they're letting you recapture it because you're putting it into real estate.
Correct.
And the real estate goes back into your name or your company's name.
Yep.
And so it's like they'll let you get those tax dollars back if you decide to be a real estate investor with them.
Correct. Yep.
Wow.
Yep.
And that has, so getting tax dollars back is just that. Like, they take it from you, but you say,
right, yeah,
bring them back, buddy.
Yeah, you either gonna give it away or they're gonna give it back to you. So,
So. That's dope. That's dope. So it's benefited you overall in that aspect. I mean, what would you tell people, I guess, then, as we try to wrap up, like, what would you tell people about holding down a job and being an entrepreneur like yourself? Any more advice you'd give them?
I will say it's definitely not for the faint of heart, right? I have 2 full-time jobs. Well, being a father, 3.
3, right? Actually.
But while I go home, I spend 40 plus hours on my W-2 job. I then get off and I spend another 40 throughout the week trying to build that wealth, grow those assets. I definitely think that it's something that is imperative. But, you definitely want to really sit down and think about what it is that you're trying to do and create a plan before just kind of jumping off into the deep end and going and losing your shirt.
Right, as they say.
Right. That's probably the very first bit of advice is just, take some time to kind of identify the journey that it is that you want to go on. Might be right here, right now, but where is it that you're trying to get to? And then start putting some pieces on the board, right? Start setting some milestones as to, what does the next 30, 60, 90 days look like? Okay, you get there. What's the next 6 months look like? Where do you want to be next year? And just continue to stack those days with strategy sessions, with, actual activities and meetings, setting some hard dates and goals for you to go and get stuff accomplished.
Yeah.
So you can start kind of moving towards where it is that you're trying to get to at the end of the day.
And now you're at the point now where real estate, you feel like will be a part of you for the rest of your life?
In some capacity, absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah, that's dope. Tell them how to contact you, how to get in, if they want flooring, if they want cabinetry, if they want to invest, if they want to, come see a property in Chicago. Like, how do they get in contact with you?
Yeah, definitely. So for any of your building material needs, you can reach out directly to me at Adam@SimplyVinyl. That is simply SIMPLI vinyl VINYL.com. That's Adam@SimplyVinyl.com. For any of your real estate needs, that's Adam@MadeByJSA. If you guys want to, have a strategy conversation with me, or really me and my partners, we would love to sit down and talk with you, get an understanding of what it is that you're trying to do. Look, we're an open book. We've all been right in those very shoes, right where you started at. So anything that we can do to help, we're certainly here for it.
And people have actually invested with you privately and been able to see a return on their funds as well, right?
Yeah, definitely. We've raised over $1 million to date privately.
Yeah.
So,
and you've been able to return a good portion to your investors, giving them a nice. So, like you mentioned earlier, if people don't want to start on their own, or maybe they feel like it's too late to start, they don't have the energy. If they've got some capital that's sitting on the side, you'd also suggest to them that that's something they could probably talk to you guys about? Definitely.
Yeah, there's some ways to kind of play in the game passively, sitting on the sidelines. Again, we're here for all the inquiries, any questions that you guys may have, or if you looking to get started in the real estate, certainly let's set up a quick 15, 20-minute chat just to get an understanding of what it is that you're trying to do.
Yeah. All right. That's it, bro. Well, thanks. I need to figure out what I'm going to do next as it relates to real estate, but I'm about to get back in the game. I got some stuff, but I need to get some more stuff going.
Hey, man, come on over on this side. We're waiting for you.
Thanks, bro. Appreciate you. Oh, all right, y'all. Until next time, it's your boy, StephenMotivate. Stay motivated. Peace.